All right, welcome today to another episode of the Park Hopper Show. And today, my guest is Bekah Wiley from Magic Mom Travel. And good morning, Bekah. We're recording early. And would you like to just give us a little bit of just touch base with who you are and who I'm talking to today?
Yeah, sure. So good morning. I am Bekah and I live in right on the coast of North Carolina. I have three girls and a husband that works and heavily supports my Disney addiction. And yeah, I have a teenager and two younger daughters as well. So we've been going for a long time, and I've been doing the travel agent thing for about 3 years. And yeah, love it. Absolutely love it. It's the most fun I've ever had, I think, probably in a job.
Well, yeah, it is a job, but it's a
Yes.
fun job. Well, then let me
Yes.
start out because I didn't know. My heart goes out to you. I have two daughters, a teenager and a 9-year-old. So
You're
I'm
right in the pits with me then.
man, just turned like she'll be 14 this year. So it's we were in the middle of it, but she's pretty great. So
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
complaints so far. Well,
Yeah.
this is very strange because I reached out to you last week. You're another person I meet on Instagram. I follow you on there, and I was like, she looks like a fun time. She's doing good stuff, and I will actually get into it in a little bit. But I was on a trip. I had a business trip last week and took a Disney day because sometimes as a teenagers and daughters, it's nice to just get away. And I was down there by myself, and it turns out you were there the very next day. So how was your trip to Disney?
Yeah, that was funny, wasn't it? How that worked out. My trip was a little bit of a whirlwind. I had on my to-do list. So I didn't have children with me this time. And I really had a couple things I wanted to check off. To when I go on these trips by myself, it's really sort of like a yeah, I'm checking out everything for my clients. Like, what can I do to make my clients' lives easier? What can I look at? What can I see? But I really had on my list that I wanted to do the 4-park challenge. So that was my big goal, and we accomplished it. I was actually done by like 3 o'clock. It was fantastic. I went back to Magic Kingdom at the end of the day. So technically I hit 5 parks that day.
Oh, my goodness.
But yeah, it was great. It was really fun. The goal, was mostly just for me, I know when you do the 4-park challenge, the idea is you go into a park and you do something. You can't just like walk in and walk out, right? So I wanted to go see and do a couple things that I had never done before. And have a couple snacks or eat somewhere that I had never eaten before. And so I was able to knock all that off my list. I did a cast compliment at each park, which was always something that I love to encourage people to do. And so, yeah, we got that done. I thought it would take us all day, and we were done by 2:30 or 3 o'clock. So it was great. It was perfect. It was a lot of fun.
Now you're telling me that your children and your husband would not want to do the 4-park challenge. That
So so let's say this. I have 3 kids. My husband and 2 of my kids would probably be up for the 4-park challenge. That little one, she'd be dragging. So
how old is the
I
little
don't
one?
think she'll be 9, but
Oh,
she's
yeah.
the baby,
Mhm.
she's the baby. So you gotta move a little slower with her.
I understand. The last time we were there as a family, my youngest was 7, and she just kept telling us, "I'm bored."
Oh no.
You're bored. Like we would sit down on a ride or an attraction that hadn't started, it was filling in, and she would say, "I am bored." Like, well, sister, we have just sat down. Like, you can wait 5 minutes. What are we talking about? So I get it. So this trip, by myself, 26,000 steps, and my wife and my little one, no, that's not their jam. My oldest, maybe she'd probably try to do her best to keep up because she loves it, but that's a lot of hustle for little people.
I did see you had a lot of steps that day. That was pro quality right there, that Disney day.
And that was just at Magic Kingdom. And you got to make the most of the time you've got. And it's checking the
Yep.
phone to see where the ride is, checking the app, like, ooh, what's less than 30 minutes, because
Yep.
I can't stand in line for an hour by myself. That I might have to talk to a stranger. And that's not really, I don't want to interact with people. So I
I
got
get it.
be doing that. So, all right. Well, so you did the 4 parks. What did you do that you said it was brand new? You said you did new stuff.
So I cannot believe that I've never done this. I cannot believe I've never done it. But I had never seen Country Bears Jamboree. And I know. And I was with another agent and she was like, what do you mean you've never seen it? And I was like, I've just never seen it. I've captained the riverboat. I've driven the riverboat.
Oh,
I've done I've done literally all the other little things, but I have never seen that show. And we walked in and it is just so delightful. I could not believe that I had not seen it all of these years that I've been going. So that was the big one. And then the other, I really wanted to eat somewhere new. So we ate at 1900 Park Fair. So I actually, even in that time that I was doing all four of those parks, I actually did a sit down dining experience outside of the parks as well. So, which that was wonderful too. So those were two of my favorite, probably new things that I did.
well, 1900 Park Fair, la di da. That's very fancy. I will say
It was wonderful.
you saw the brand new Country Bear Jamboree, and
Yes.
I'm sorry that you missed out on the old one, but it was in the
I,
last, I'll say 3 years that I saw the one for the first time ever as well. And I'd been several times as a child and a couple times as an adult, and it just never was anything on my radar. And the
yeah.
old one was a lot of fun, and the new one, it's great. I mean, everything they did
Yeah.
to it still has that Disney magic, but still very, very strange, but
Yeah.
a good time.
Yeah. 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 I loved it. I can't wait for my kids to see it. I'm going to make
Well,
everybody go.
can you walk me through 1900 Park Fair? Because that is a place when we go, we're a quick stop, or, when I'm by myself, I'm like, let's just go. I'm not sitting down. I'm not, anything I can eat while I'm walking around. And, sometimes the family has to sit down and drag you down, but that is a fancy restaurant. So walk me through this place.
Yeah, so 1900 Park Fair is a little iconic within the Grand Floridian Resort. And it's a wonderful way I always love character dining because my family is very go, 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 go too. But I also pretty heavily insist on taking a rest because of that aforementioned 9-year-old child that I have that just needs to move a little slow. So it's a really great way, these character meals, for you to get really personalized character interactions while your children are happy and eating. So I like to try a whole bunch of different ones so I can say, this one is worth doing. This one, maybe you can skip out on. I loved 1900 Park Fair. The location of it is great. I think everyone should see the Grand Floridian because it's a beautiful, beautiful resort. But the actual restaurant itself is just very nostalgic, very beautiful, great, great character interactions. We met Prince Ali, we met Mirabelle, we met Tiana, and we met Cinderella. And the food there was unreal as well. It's a buffet, and it was a well-stocked buffet. Very, very, very good. And something for everybody. Like it was, they had everything from, more like a fancier type of breakfast food to Mickey waffles and the strawberry soup. If you've never had the strawberry soup, although if you said you haven't been there, is the strawberry soup alone. It sounds weird. Everybody's like, strawberry soup. It's basically just a smoothie.
Okay.
But yes, so it's not warm. Everybody's like, well, no, it's cool. It's a smoothie. It's super refreshing. Very, very delicious. And you end with a cute little, stack of gummy bears, which all of the children around us were like so excited about their little cup of gummy bears at the end. So definitely worth doing. I think it's worth the hike. It was a great, great meal. And I was full for a long time. Like, I don't think I ate till dinner. So I was good.
Well, there's nothing like paying for a character breakfast or a character meal at a fancy restaurant and then being excited about the gummy bears on the way up.
Yes. That's such a kid thing, right? Here you've had all these other things you could have eaten and they were pumped about the gummy bears, but definitely one that I would recommend, definitely worth doing.
I mean, people, if you're at all confused or don't think a character breakfast is worth it, I will say I am the captain of the Cheapskate Patrol, and we did one at Topolino's. We did the breakfast there with the characters, and I mean, I would have thought this is kind of silly and unnecessary, but it was actually the most amazing thing. Like a character meet and greet, and you're just there getting the attention from the people one-on-one. It's pretty great. So
yeah, it's fantastic.
But you had me at buffet.
Amazing.
On the show, buffet, when people bring that up, that piques my interest. That's one thing I've never done at Disney. They tell me about the cruise lines. I did not know there were buffet meals in the park. Or in the like on property, not in the park. But That's a
Yes. Yeah. It used to be prior to COVID, they had a couple other options as well. And then it was sort of a slow rollout of the buffet coming back. But yeah, family style and buffet is a great option. Topolino's is more like a sit down plated dinner.
it's too fancy.
But yeah, but it's very good.
We had the breakfast there, and it's still maybe one of the best things I've ever eaten. So
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that would
It's
be a
delicious.
good. We usually tell people if they ask to take a rest day, that might be a buffet rest day. You don't want to go back out in the park after you've done that. But it
Yep.
sounds like you might have done that
Oh yeah, I did that.
buffet and then back
I did
in the
that for
park
sure.
because the calories don't count
Yeah.
at Disney anyway, so it doesn't matter.
That's right. I walked those right off. I wasn't worried about it.
Well, so I took some notes from things that I've been seeing on your Instagram, and also just for the record, if you're a travel agent and you're out in the parks and you're not documenting this for your work, what are you doing? You gotta do a better job. And it's how I've been seeing people on Instagram. It's one of the ways that really catches my eye, and I find people for the show a lot. Something because there's so many people I follow. Like this is the same mode, same mode. You're actually very good. Like some of these videos that you post today, you did the Grand Destino Tower. Did you stay there?
Yes.
So that video is very nice. And there's one of you just on Main Street, and you have a
Yes.
very good eye for video. I would say there's stuff in the background is soft focus, and she's really good at this. It
Yeah,
really
my
does
past
stand out.
life, I was a photographer for a
Oh,
while,
were you really?
so that's
Okay.
I find a lot of joy in that for sure, and I think it's kind of fun to see because you're right, you do sort of see the same sort of content over and over and over again. Like you've seen the teacups swirl around how many times, but have you seen it from this angle and looking this way? And so yeah, I love to kind of see because it is these places are beautiful, these parks are beautiful, and I think people miss out on a lot of those little details. So I love finding them.
Well, it looked really good, and a lot of them. Nice shots without other people in them. Like you've got the park to your. I like this. She's very good at this. I like it. So,
Thank you.
what? It looked like you were rope dropping Hollywood Studios while you were there.
Yeah.
What was this line? This crazy line that was there?
That line, I had never seen this before, but I do know that occasionally it will happen is they will, so I rope dropped, but I actually sort of took my time getting in there because I was looking for a couple, actually that day I had forgotten my sunglasses.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time I got into the park, I was like, nope, I got to buy a pair of sunglasses. So I was a little behind the times that morning because I needed to stop and get some sunglasses. But by the time that I got back to like Toy Story Land, right behind Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railroad, they had actually closed off Toy Story Land even to early entry. So there were some guests inside there, but they had closed it off. And that huge line of people some of them were early entry folks that just didn't get there quick enough. And some of them were regular park day guests. And they were all being held at the same time. So I always, whenever I have clients go, I'm pretty good at creating a custom itinerary for them so that when they go into the park, they have like, these are the things that we've talked about that are important for you to see when you're there. But I always recommend getting there at least a half hour before the posted early entry time. I like to roll up between 45 minutes and an hour before because you just don't know. And sometimes things like that will happen. A ride will be shut down and you have to sort of pivot your plan for the morning. So, that's what that line was. And they let them in right at 9 and it was like mass chaos. People were running and children were crying and screaming. And I was like, oh, people are starting their day like this. But that's just how it goes sometimes. You have to really be flexible on those mornings at Disney. So
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know really anything about you. This is the first time we've ever spoken, but I was born in the 80s and that was like sometimes those scenes, they look like you would see video of people fighting for toys on like Black Friday.
yeah.
They open up the doors and everybody's just staring, looking in, and then people rope drop and then they just get out of the way because it is chaos. Last year I was there and I got there early because it's not an important story, but I got there first. I was the first person to buy a ticket in the morning. It was very strange. I didn't realize how close I was when I left, and I put it in the GPS and went, I've already left to go, and now I'm only 20 minutes away. So the parking lots, it was very strange, but then, it starts filling up behind you quick. So
yes.
Can you explain to me, this is something that I didn't realize until lately, the difference, between early entry and rope drop, because I think people think early entry and they're like, I'm going and I'm on the ride before the door even opens. So what exactly is that?
Yeah, so early entry is something that is a perk for staying on Disney property. So everyone can get into the park. Let's say we'll use Animal Kingdom, for example, because I did early entry for that on our 4 park challenge day. So with early entry, the park will open at 8 on this morning, right? So everybody that's staying off property, annual pass holders, people that are staying on property, everybody is allowed into the park at 8 o'clock. But at 7:30, they'll start allowing people that are staying in one of the Disney resorts, they'll start letting them into the park to start experiencing the rides. And a lot of times they'll actually let those guests in even sooner than the early entry time. So for example, we got up, hit the bus. I was in Animal Kingdom by 6:45, standing in line at 7, and they started letting us in just a little after 7. I was on Navi River Journey and off Navi River Journey before 7:30. So before the early entry even happened, I was already off and on to the next thing. So it really is kind of a nice perk. It does feel a little chaotic when you first get there, because everybody sort of thinks, you have to run, you have to get there quickly. And for some rides, that is true. You have like Rise of the Resistance in Hollywood Studios is a really big one. Everybody wants to go there. Or Flight of Passage for Pandora. Everybody wants to go there. But there are a couple of rides that you could probably even do 2 or 3 times before the park officially opens for all ticket holders. You just kind of have to play your cards right and have a little bit of a plan when you go in, but also know that you should be flexible too.
Well, and it's good to have a planner to help you out and do those things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I will say the last couple of times I've been by myself because I've been there for work and I hadn't had my family with me. So I did not stay on property. And that is really, you're talking about the perks of doing that. I always, if we're taking a family trip, for me, you've got to be there, even if it's, I'm an all-star hotel person just because of my childhood, and I tell my friends, I'm a little bit trashy. I kind of like just you go in, it's loud, it's tacky. I'm like, this is kind of, I feel out of place sometimes. The Grand Floridian, walking through, this is very nice, but this is not who I am as a person. But
Yeah.
being able to go in and do those things, because like I said, last year I was so early and they let you in on, I went to Magic Kingdom and it was gorgeous, but then you get to the middle where the spokes go out and they had, the rope drops around. So I got to see all you get to see the castle and you get to see the shops and get a coffee or whatever. But when the people staying on, on property or walking in, oh, we're so close. I'm so close to getting on the rides early, but
Yeah.
they're not letting you for another half an hour. It's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, it can be, but there's a lot of, that's a great opportunity if you're not staying on property to grab a picture in front of the castle before there's a bunch of people behind you, or like you said, grab a coffee. So there's a lot of good things that can happen in that half hour before the park officially opens. If you don't have access to early entry, there's still a lot of good things that can go down.
But I would for sure always stay on a hotel or at a hotel on property if you can. Can you tell me about this Grand Destino? Because that place, is it at Coronado Springs? Is that?
It is.
Okay, so what?
Yeah.
How was that place? It looked amazing.
Yeah, so I've seen it before. I've toured it with Disney representatives, but had never actually stayed there. So I've stayed in the village. So Coronado Springs, the moderate resorts are kind of known for these outbuildings, and they're large, and they're, they can be, there's multiple bus stops, but they feel like these really big properties sometimes. And Coronado Springs is like that. There's a village part of it that has all of these outbuildings that sort of go around the lake. They're beautiful, and I've stayed there. But Grand Destino Tower is sort of this, like when you think about Coronado Springs, when you look up Coronado Springs, the picture you're going to see on the internet, that is Grand Destino Tower. It is considered moderate, but the feel of it is so luxurious, especially there's dining. I don't know if you've ever eaten. Toledo is on the top and the Dahlia Lounge is on the top. They are very, very, very good. So it really does sort of have this vibe of being a deluxe resort without having to pay the premium of being in a deluxe resort. The rooms are big and beautiful. There's suite options. There's club level options. So it's sort of a little different than all of the other moderates in that way, and that it has this building that's beautiful. Coronado Springs is also a conference center, so a lot of times there's businesses, and they have clients like that are maybe a little more high end that like that vibe, but then they like the convenience of being so close to the conference center as well.
Well, so what are the rooms like at a place like that?
So do you mean like the aesthetic of them, or?
Well, so for instance, like I said, I'm an all-star kind of person. I mean, we like art of
Yeah,
animation, like those kind of,
yeah, they're great.
it's value, but that's just, value is very, it's a smooth scale. It's not, it's not the Holiday Inn. It's a little expensive, but, uh,
Yeah.
so we've also stayed at places like, can't think, okay, Port Orleans, and we stayed in the room and the beds lit up. It had the fireworks, it was cool. My kids
Yes.
really loved it. But essentially, that room was the same room as an all-star hotel with the double beds, not the one that had like the pull down. But it's like I would say the floor plan of the room was almost the exact same thing. The property is nicer. Like there's a lot to do. There's nice restaurants. There's boating. There's you can just take a long, long walk and it's gorgeous on property. But the room was the same. So is that
Yeah.
how it is? Also, you would say, or are these nicer rooms? Because that place looked nice.
Yes. So if you're in the village of Coronado, it's going to have a little more of that standard room vibe.
Mhm.
And they're great. So spatially, I love the value resorts, the all-star resorts, the art of animation and pop. The theming is incredible. So if you have little kids, that's usually a great pick, right? Because you have the convenience of being on Disney property, but the moderate resorts to the value resorts, the square footage is a tiny bit larger.
Mhm.
Sometimes you'll have two sinks as opposed to one sink, which for a larger family, like me,
Oh,
I
that's
have
big.
three girls, right?
Yeah.
So I need that extra sink. Um, so, so there's in the village, it kind of feels a little bit more maybe like that, an outdoor entrance, all of that stuff. The tower feels, the rooms, just I can't really explain it. Just like the decor, the vibe of it, the tile in the shower, the double sinks, the extra toiletries on your vanity, like
Mhm.
things like that just make it feel a little bit more upscale and luxurious, without again the price tag of maybe the Polynesian or the Grand Floridian.
Well, so some of those, the moderate and up, they seem more like a hotel almost, and the ones that I usually would stay at, almost like a motel. As far as like it's just you're
Yeah,
just kind of there to sleep because that I mean, and that's how for the most part we do it because
yeah,
begrudgingly my family is with me and I'm like we're getting up early and then we're staying out late because that's what we're here to do.
yeah,
So you just kind of get up, take a shower, and you go home and you take a shower, collapse into the bed. So it doesn't matter if there's not
yeah,
so many amenities. But then I know people who, they're annual pass holders and they go, "Oh, we're not staying at this place. We're going to ride 3 rides and then we're going to go back to the room and sit or go to the hotel. And it needs to have its own amenities and something nice there. So
yeah,
there's something for
yeah.
everybody there."
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's, I think, what's important when you're working with a travel, like I consider myself a travel concierge, right? Which is a little bit different than just like calling up anywhere and getting a random travel
Oh,
agent.
no.
Because I've been to these places and I've seen them and I've experienced them. I've stayed in a lot of these resorts. I only think like two or three that I haven't stayed in at Walt Disney World. So, I think that's an important thing when we're talking about different things that you want to do. Like if your family is going and you're telling me we're really not going to be there, the theme of the resort's not important, the amenities of the resort aren't important, then maybe a value or a moderate is a much better feel for you. But then if you have people that are like, we want 2 built-in rest days and we're going to spend a lot of time at the pool and we're going to be spending, we want to have some great dining options on property, because I've been there and experienced them and done a lot of these things, it makes that a little bit easier for me to help you sort of decide, okay, if this is your budget, then this is what I think would probably be a great fit for your family.
And that is actually the reason that you're on this show because you answered a question I put in my story on Instagram about the hardest thing that you've got going on. And it's people don't understand They see it
Right.
on TV like, this is great. I can book this thing, but I don't want to have somebody else do it because I don't want to pay extra money. It's already expensive, or I can do this on my own. And it's true that you can, but we've done both, and it's so much better to have a travel agent. So, or a travel concierge. I like that because that is, I mean, that's really what you're doing.
Right.
So I think, and I compare it to this, we're getting to that season. There are some tax companies and they say, come in, you do your taxes. And this is something I've got on my parents for. They go to this place. And essentially the people they go to and pay are just popping up TurboTax and saying,
Hmm.
let me ask you about this. And then just entering the information. And I'm like, guys, you all could do this at home for free for the service you're getting. And then sometimes it's entered wrong. I'm like, they typed in something wrong because they don't care. They're just filling in the buttons. And you can do that. Like you can get online and you can book your own Disney trip and you can do all of that stuff. But that's not really what you do. Like you take it, like you help the people, like you said, plan what is the best hotel. There's so much. There's so many hotels. Do you know how many are at just Walt Disney World alone?
Oh gosh. I feel like I should know that number off the top of my head and I
I'm
don't.
sorry to put you on the spot. It's tons.
Okay, that's okay. There's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. So like you go to Disneyland, which a lot of people are used to, you have three options that are Disney owned properties, right? So yeah, there's a lot. I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize to sort of, go back to the fact that you can do this yourself. Of course you can do this yourself. I say that all over my social media. Yeah, you can totally do this yourself. Here's what a lot of people don't realize. A lot of people don't realize, Paul, that you are actually paying for the service of having a travel planner, even if you don't use one. And that's not just with Disney, that's with anything, right? So whether you're booking, even if you're booking a Disney cruise, a Royal Caribbean cruise, you're going to Sandals, you're going to Disney, it doesn't matter. You are paying the way that we are paid as travel agents is there's a built-in commission. And if you don't use a travel agent or a travel concierge, you are that the company that, so Disney, for example, will just keep that money, right? So you're paying for a benefit that you're not even getting. And that's what I think is really hard to explain to people. Like when I tell you that this will cost you nothing extra, I truly, honestly, from the bottom of my heart mean that it will cost you nothing extra. And the benefits that you get, I mean, it can change your whole experience. How many times have you gone to Disney World and you've seen people so frustrated because they don't know where they're going, or they don't know how to use lightning lanes, or they don't know, they ate somewhere that wasn't very good. This happens all the time. I see it constantly. Every single time I'm there, I'm helping people in the parks. I'm giving them, you should be doing this or going here and doing, like, I hate when people are frustrated. And that's honestly my only goal, is to be able to give people a truly memorable, stress-free experience when they're going, because it doesn't have to be, I think when people say, I've wanted to go to Disney for years, but it's just so stressful. It doesn't have to be. It really doesn't. You can have a wonderful experience and not feel like it's chaotic. And that's why I love what I do. And I wish that I could shout that from a mountaintop and everybody would know, because I think it would change the tune for a lot of people. But it's also important to work with somebody that you jive with, that you have a good rapport with, because that can really make or break it as well. So,
well, and I think social media is good for that, because I've told people on here before, like it's not, I mean, it's an investment. This is not like a knee jerk, like you're at the grocery and like, I'm going to grab a pack of gum. It's like some people save up for years, to go on a trip, and they want the best trip they can possibly have. And even if they pick a travel planner for themselves, they want somebody who, like you said, they jive with perfectly. And I think so many people who I follow on social media, like you see the cute little memes and you see the whatever, but you don't see that person. Like you never see their face, or you never hear them speak, and you don't really get to know them at all. And that's one of the reasons I started doing this, is to get people to like, hey, this is some more exposure for you. You did a good question and answer thing that it's in your highlights on your Instagram. It's weird what, you can find out about somebody in a week, but watching that, I was like, this is perfect. Like that kind of thing where you just sat down and said, hey, here's a bunch of questions I've got. Here are the answers to them. I mean, it's not a hard thing. It's, this is good. She's very good at this. That's perfect, because, you don't, like if you're buying a car, wouldn't it be so nice to just go through the like the car dealerships online and talk to like see something about the person before you go in or buying a house. You're like, oh, I
Yeah.
like this guy. I'm going to go in and he's going to walk me through this expensive part of my life. So, I mean,
Yeah.
you've got the opportunity out there. You've got your phones. People, come on, you can do a better
Yep.
job, and you do a very good job. So, like I said,
Thank you.
you're very personable online, and I mean, you're good at this, and you're excited. Once you start talking about Disney, you're like, yeah, I know my
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. I love it. I love it.
Well, so you say you've stayed at most of the hotels on
Yeah.
so you're a Disney World person, correct? Because you're East Coast. That's your home
Yes.
part.
So I'm actually going to Disneyland for the first time in June. We're so
Nice.
excited. We're just so far away, right? And I was
Oh,
always
it's
like, we'll go, we'll go, we'll go. And we're finally going. We're going in June. So I'm really excited about it to experience it.
I've never been. I've only been to California once, and I could see the signs for Disney, but I had to go to work, and I was like, I'd rather just
Boo.
hop on this bus. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And just you know what? Forget this job. I would just head over to Disneyland. But so you're local to here or to
Mhm.
East Coast. What is your favorite hotel that you've stayed at Disney World
Aw.
Properties? Do you have
My
a
very, I absolutely
Oh,
have a
okay.
favorite. My very favorite is the Riviera.
Oh yeah.
Um, I just, the vibe of that place is incredible. I like the Skyliner. I love having
Mhm.
access to it. Love Topolino's. I've eaten there many times. It's just my favorite. It's a beautiful, beautiful, very chill, very relaxed. The artwork all through is gorgeous. The dining is fantastic. Access to the Skyliner. You could see from, so I stayed in a 1-bedroom suite and we could see Magic Kingdom and we could see Epcot fireworks at the same time. That was lovely. I love that from our balcony. It's just my favorite. It's my favorite. They're all wonderful, but truly that one stood out for me.
I bet it's really something at night because I've only been to the time we had the character breakfast, but going out on that roof and just just looking around, you could see everything.
Everything.
It's really cool. Well,
Yes, it's beautiful.
that is the Skyliner is really a game changer for some of those hotels, and that's one of them that we would get on with the art of animation, and you
Yeah.
see. I'll call the all star people start coming in, and then you get here we're to the fancy people at the Riviera.
Yeah.
we're mixing with the commoners now. That's what they say when we get on the bus.
But you know what?
Nice.
I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, you're able to, like, if you stay at Art of Animation or Pop or even Caribbean Beach is right there on the Skyliner. If you want to pop over, just ride that Skyliner, go over and have some breakfast at the Riviera. Even in Primo at the bottom, their quick service, so good. So good. So it kind of gives you a little taste of what that resort is. And you can't use the amenities and things like the pool. But you're welcome to walk the grounds and to experience the resort as well. And that's kind of a neat thing that Disney allows you to do is like, come, eat, enjoy, and see. And maybe for your next trip, you'll be like, this is worth a splurge.
The potatoes alone at the Topolino's
Oh,
breakfast. I don't know what they
so
did
good.
and how they made them, but
Magic.
the most
It is
amazing
magic.
things.
Yes.
So, well, I'm glad that yes, you're after my own heart. That's good. So yeah, you've had the magic potatoes. I don't know how they do it. I don't know, and a lot of the stuff. So actually, last night, funnily enough, have you had the spring rolls ever? The famous spring rolls in Adventureland. Okay.
That's my favorite snack in all of
Oh,
Magic Kingdom.
I
I
had 'em
tell everybody.
for the first time last week. That was my first time ever.
Now, what flavor did you have?
I had one of each. I got the
Yes, you
yeah,
did.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I really the burger one was good. I'm not a big pickle on my burger person, but it was
Uh-huh.
delicious. The pizza one was amazing, and they have the copycat recipes at home, and I tried to make them last night.
Yeah.
Not as perfect. I'm not sure. I think I did something wrong with the actual wrapping of it, but I mean, we watch a lot of YouTube Disney and seeing the different
Yeah.
things like that. There's like a strange thing to be everybody's favorite snack, but it was tremendous. So
Yeah.
I'm slowly going
I have
down
to
the list
try
of
it.
things.
I'll
Well,
have to try to make my own.
I mean, it's not as hard as you think, but it's a lot of cleanup. I'll say that it's a lot of
Yeah.
But the kids, oh well, you know what? My oldest who wants to be a chef and work at Disney, that's her life goals. So
Oh,
she was like,
I like that.
"This is pretty good stuff." So, well, so that is your
Nice.
favorite snack in all of Disney is the spring rolls, or do you
And
got
All of Disney. Yeah, it's up there. They might be my favorite in all of Disney. I'm telling you, if you go with me to Magic Kingdom, you are eating a spring roll. It's like a non-negotiable.
And it's so funny because it's just that one cart. It's something that,
It's just that one
there's
cart.
so much food, but just one little
So
cart.
many people walk past it and have no idea, but there is a line. A lot of times
Oh,
there is a line.
well, okay. So let's get into that. So you were here last week, and we were recording this the first week of March. So it was the last week of February.
Yes.
As a travel agent, as a concierge, what was going on at Disney? Do you have any idea? Was there something big? Because we just missed Run Disney. That wasn't going on. What was happening in the park? Because it was packed.
Yeah. So it's funny that you say that it was packed because there were times where I thought this is a lot of people. And then there were times where I was like, where is everybody? So, I'm actually not sure. I know there were a couple groups of travel agents there, which, typically Disney will sometimes bring people down like for training. So I know that there were probably a couple of those going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were a couple of conferences. But I'm really not sure. I know the Coronado where I was, there were a couple different things going on in the conference center. So I'm assuming, this is sort of a slower time for them right before spring break, sort of the sweet spot for when to travel for a lot of people. So typically this is when they'll throw some things like that in. I don't believe there were any cheer competitions. That's usually a big one that you kind of have to watch out for.
So,
yeah. So, typically those are a little bit earlier in the month, but yeah, I mean, it's a hopping place. You're never going to go to Disney and be like, there's no one here. That's never going to happen.
Right. Well, so I was going to say several of the people that I follow on Instagram and a few people that have been on the show were there, in the last week.
Yes.
I thought something must be up that I have just missed out on because at the same time last year I went and I was there for about 6 hours and I went because I had to catch a flight. It's stupid. You got to leave early. But I went on everything, just literally everything, almost a walk on. And I was like, this is great. I don't have to wait in line for anything. And it was 80 degrees, which I wasn't ready for because depending on where you're at right now, it's been cold. And it got like summer, like the crowds. I couldn't believe how many people were there. But they also just opened up the virtual queues for a couple of big rides. So I didn't know. But that didn't seem to affect it because Tiana's was not a long line. And I was pretty excited.
Yeah. Even Guardians, I felt like, when they dropped those virtual queues and went to just a standard queue, there was a lot of swirling emotions because people were like, oh, I'm never going to be able to get on it. And I honestly thought that it really wasn't that bad. So, I'm glad to hear you kind of felt the same way. Yeah. It really wasn't that big of a drop, I don't think, but we'll see. I mean, spring break crowds are coming. They'll be descending, in about a month. It'll start getting really packed and that'll be a whole thing.
Well, so let me ask you this then. To you, what is a long line? What is a deal breaker time?
What is a long line?
Personally for you? It varies, person to person, but
once it starts getting up over 55, 60 minutes, I'm pretty much, now I will tell you, I'm a lightning lane girl. I'm going to pay for it every single time. So truly 25 minutes. My happy maximum. But I will stand in a line. I've stood in lines for an hour and a half, 2 hours. I've done it. I think some of those things, if it's, what's that?
It's not fun. The two-hour line is
you have to have a plan going into it, some games on your phone. You have to you have to be like really ready to stand in a line for that long. But some of the things are worth it, like when you think about what the longest lines are, if it's your first trip and you have the time to do that, rides like Slinky, rides like Rise of the Resistance, those are rides that you should experience and are a great, they're worth the wait. But it's always good to utilize rope drop to get one of those really long lines out of the way so you don't have to do that. But if it's over an hour, I'm going to struggle. I'll struggle with that.
Sure.
For sure.
Well, I've told this on here before, but my parents were better parents than I am to my children. But when we were kids, when I was a kid, I was an only child, and we went to Universal Studios and waited in line for the Back to the Future ride when it opened up for 3 hours. And you're talking pre-Disney making the queues fun. It was just a snaking line for a not Omni movie, and it was just
Yep.
30 people on, 30 people off. And
Yep.
boy, that's the thought of standing with my children for 3 hours in line. And I pre cell phone, you didn't they could
Yeah.
bring like a Game Boy or anything with you. Even then, it's just wild to think
Yep.
about what we used to do. But they've got it pretty far down, as far as how long the lines get. I was really actually impressed. That's one of the things Disney does very well, and people think, well, you're paying a premium price to go there. But I'm like, it's a premium experience. It's expensive,
Yeah.
but it is. There's very few exceptions that I think the line is undoable. I don't even know if that's the correct word. I don't love the queue at Rock and Roller Coaster. Hopefully they do something about that when it's Muppets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've stood in that one for more than an hour just because something kept going wrong. And
yeah.
you get in there and I was like, I've been in here too long to get out of line now. And I was wrong. I should have hopped out of line, but something broke down. But it's very bleak until you get inside. Inside it's very cool, but outside,
yes,
not a lot going on. But a lot of these rides, there's things to do. There's things to look at, and you don't feel quite so like you're just cattle being herded through, to be entertained. Let me ask you this. What is your opinion on why is Peter Pan's always so long? Of all the rides in the park, it's Tron and Peter Pan are, for some reason.
Oh, I love Peter Pan. I love Peter Pan. Yeah. I think fun, it's nostalgia. I really think it's nostalgia. Yeah. I mean, it's a big hype for what it actually is. Mm-hmm. Like when you ride it, you're like, okay, but it's sweet. A lot of, I'm an 80s baby too. So a lot of us grew up, like these were the movies that we grew up with. I think that's usually one that I'm going to rope drop. Mm-hmm. Just because for early entry, especially because I'm not standing for 90 minutes to ride Peter Pan. But having said that, the queue is really cute. Like if you've stood in line for that, it really is. There's a lot of really cute stuff to look at and things to do, and the shadows on the wall. And I don't know why it's consistently as high as it is. It gets up over Seven Dwarves and, even Tron sometimes. It's consistently high. Yes, consistently high. But I really think it's just nostalgia. I think people think we got to ride it.
Yeah. I don't think that. So I was thinking, what can I do with my 75 minutes that is not in line here? But you're right, because you are in the middle of Fantasyland. And you can still hear all the fun sound. Like even if you're in the outside part of the line, it's still magical where it is, but it is a long line for, like you said, not much.
It's a good one when you stay at deluxe hotels on Disney property, you get, you'll have access to the after hours or the after hour ticketed events or the Christmas party or the Halloween party. That's really where I think those tickets become worth their money because you're on and off stuff so fast. Yeah. And you kind of get to do it all and just for the price of the ticket. So, that's rides like that, or I usually save them for moments like that.
Well, I tell people that, if you've been there before, this might be Disney blasphemy, but the fireworks are fine. Like they're amazing, but they're not make or break a good day for me. And while the fireworks go on, those lines way lower. If you're staying late in the park, people will start lining up at 7 for those fireworks or 6:30. And once those fireworks start, you just go behind the castle and hop on Jungle Cruise, hop on Pirates, at zero wait. It's pretty great. So that's what I usually hold those things for. Or if you're a park hopper, go to another park all day and then hit there right before the fireworks and just do all the things you would have normally got to do. So, is that nostalgia-wise? Is that just your biggest jam, the Peter Pan, or you got something?
I do really think Peter Pan. I'm not a Haunted Mansion fan. I just never really have been, which I feel like is a taboo thing to say.
I know it's a hot take.
Yeah, it is. I love Peter Pan. I love the riverboat. The Small World is okay. I'll ride it because I'm there, but that's not super nostalgic for me. But yeah, I think those are Little Mermaid, like all those. I don't want to say like original, but the more the more original kind of vibes. I like them. I just really like. No, that's not to say I don't love Tron. I love Tron. Mm-hmm. I love Seven Dwarves. I love, there's a lot in Magic Kingdom. It's very, you can do a lot of different types of rides when you're there, which is fun.
Well, lucky for me, my big nostalgia one, for some reason, I love Carousel Progress, but it is.
Oh, really?
Watch out. I'll end this right now. I'll hang this thing up and delete it.
That is my summer midday. Let's go on a little cruise.
That's fair. It's nice and cool. It's dark.
Great. Yep. And then you're singing the song for the rest of the day. Yeah. That will be stuck in your head forever.
And it is a jam. It slaps, as the kids say. That is a great song. Wow. So, now I see you've lost my concentration because I'm just I'm taken aback by the fact that you made that terrible face. Yeah, it's okay. So, if you have forgotten sunglasses, going back to your very opening thing about needing to have those in the park, that's a good one to realize. You're like, oh, it is. The sunglasses might be the way to go. Is that what do you have in a must do a bag for Disney? Like if you could carry just a few things, as a traveler, what do you got?
So I'm a minimalist. I really don't carry a whole lot, but my husband carries all of my stuff for me when I'm with him. So he's my pack mule. So some of the things that I absolutely have to have, you absolutely have to have sunglasses. You absolutely have to have hand sanitizer. If you don't have hand sanitizer, you are doing Disney wrong. You have to have hand sanitizer with you. And it also depends, do I have my kids with me? If I have my kids with me, I'm bringing Band-Aids. I'm ordering a case of water to the resort before I arrive, and I'm taking a couple bottles of water in with me because it's just cheaper. It's a good way to save some cash. Those are probably hand sanitizer and sunglasses they're going to be up there for me on my two absolutely must haves in a park.
Man, I was very excited because I had my bag for the airport and then I had my bag that I was going to take to Disney, just a smaller thing to carry my junk in. And I had put my sunglasses in there by accident. And I was so happy to find them last week because it was a bright day. And I was like, I'm going to have to buy
It was very sunny.
Sunglasses that are, and they have nice sunglasses at Disney. I'm like, no, I just want some cruddy sunglasses. I don't want nice sunglasses, but that's all they offer that I could find. But luckily I had them in because it was a bright sunny day. For me personally, sunscreen is my number one thing because I'm a very pasty person. One. So now what about this bringing water? Now this is also a thing that I've seen people do, but I'm not real up to date. What is the role on bringing in food and drinks to Disney?
Yeah, you can, as long as it's not alcohol. And sometimes things with a glass bottle, they'll pull you for. I am a huge fan of vacation grocery delivery. They are ex-cast members that now do grocery shopping and delivery right to the resorts for people. There's a couple different services, but they are my favorite. Vacation grocery delivery is hands down my favorite.
So that's the name of a company. That's not a service. Okay.
Yep. That's the name of their company, and they're fantastic. So I blast them all the time on social media because they're just the best. But I really do recommend, especially if they're staying in like a suite or a villa. But even if you're not, before you go, order a case of water, order a couple things of goldfish, order some granola bars, or bring things like that into the parks with you to save on money, to have with you when you're standing in long lines. Water specifically, you order a case of water and then you're all set for the week. There's beverage coolers in the room. You can keep them cool and then, pop them in your bag. But they'll deliver them to Bellhop. And then when you arrive, you can just collect it and it's done. And that's a huge tip for people to just save a little bit of money. It feels good to at least to have to buy water at the park for $4 or $5.
Oh, well, that is the thing. And I hate Dasani water with a passion. I think it's bad. Yeah. I'd rather drink the Florida water from the water fountain than the Dasani water.
That's a big statement.
It's rough. So what is the, it can't be opened, right? When you come in, it has to be sealed. Is that correct? The drinks, or can it be
open?
Oh,
yeah.
Well, you can bring alcohol in the park. I didn't know you could have.
Well, not alcohol, but like a water. Sure. Like if you're sipping on like a water or Coke or whatever. Yeah, and I had a big thing of water that I hopped around with all day, and I was good. I just had my one bottle of water.
Well, that's a really good tip because I'm a Coke Zero person, and they only have
Oh
it
yeah.
in one spot in Disney in a bottle, and it's in that Big Top souvenirs in the back. And I don't know why they don't have it at all the stations. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm eating 15,000 calories. I want my Coke Zero. I don't need the extra
Yeah.
ones here. So I have to fill it up then at the water fountain. When it's done, I'm like, this water is not great. I usually take the little flavored water drops.
Yes.
And you can put them in there. The caffeinated ones are real, on a long
Yep.
day. It's good stuff just to get that taste of water, or the water fountain water out of your mouth. But I did not know you could bring in open containers. That's shocking to me because of how everything. And people, if you're complaining about the security, get out of here, because
they're fantastic.
I mean, logistically, to have all those people there and you just feel perfectly safe. Please look in my bag, go through my stuff.
They're great, and they're always really kind. Like I think maybe once ever have I run into someone in security and I was like, oh, you should smile more. But for the most part, they're all just really nice, and they want you to have a good day, but they also want to keep everybody safe. So those security guys they're great.
You really bring up a good point, because I have never run into a issue once you're to the scanning in. But the only 2 times I've ever seen anybody with less than a super smile on their face, it was a guy going security, and he was getting yelled at because someone was trying to bring in a Frappuccino glass bottle, and you can't have them. He was, this is $5. I just wait, and he's throwing, and I was like, but then after being yelled at for a while, he would had enough of it. And then people in the parking lot, which you could not pay me enough money to park these cars. Because I'm like, just get in line, and people are just trying to cut through. They're cutting in line I'm like, guys, what are we doing? We're, a society. We're all adults here, and they had to go yell at somebody, and they've got their little wand, and I guess if you call the bluff, if they're going to run over somebody, you got to go yell at them. But it was quite a scene. But you mentioned earlier the cast compliments that you were giving out. Now, can you explain what a cast compliment is?
Yeah, it's all done through the app. So we have. I think generally those cast members they probably overall have great days, but I promise you, there's so many people, like you were just saying, even just parking, like people aren't even in the parks yet, and they're frustrated, and they're upset, and they're uptight. And so it happens, right? That they're going to run into some guests that aren't kind. And so when you come across a cast member that just goes a little bit more with the magic than they need to, or even if they're just really kind and you just hit it off with them, whether it's somebody that's driving I've done them for bus drivers. I've done them for people that are standing in lines for the queues. I've done them for the people that work in the shops, especially in Animal Kingdom. They are full of the coolest information, and they want to talk to you, and they want to tell you about it. A lot of these people have been there. I always love asking people, how long have you been here? And how long have you been doing this job? Because a lot of them move around. They stay with Disney for a long time. Mm-hmm. Minivan drivers, all of these people, if you give them a cast compliment within the app, and I have, I'll have to send it to you. I have like a screenshot of how to actually do a cast member compliment. They receive those. Disney does give them back to them. Nice. So it's always nice. And I'm somebody that will always try to use their name when I'm talking to them as well. Like, thank you so much, whoever. And, mm-hmm. And they just to make people feel seen. I think generally it's a good life rule to just be kind and to show people that they're important. And those cast member compliments, I love doing them. They're like my favorite. I don't know what they get for doing them, but I do know that they receive praise, and that's huge.
I mean, just think, at a regular job, if you did what you think is a good job, and one day your manager came in and said, "Hey, we're getting a lot of compliments about you," it's probably, you got to feel good about being recognized that you're actually going out of your way. But I'm sure somewhere down the line, they're like, this person, if they wanted a promotion or they wanted something, if they're getting, if they are standing out amongst all the magic, that's a pretty big deal that they've got going on. So and it's just in the app, that app that has some great stuff, and then that app has a lot of stuff that I'm like, I just wish this could be,
makes you crazy,
a little streamlined. I download it every year, or anytime I go, I'm like, okay, I get it back on the phone. I bet they've cut some stuff out. They have not. Okay.
Nope.
Like, give me that tip board and give me, I guess, cast compliments, and look at my schedule for the day. But I guess they want you to know that it's all there.
Yep.
But hey, you're a Disney agent, so this is part of the reason that people need to hire somebody, because if the app is that unwieldy, just think of all the things that you could be doing at at the parks and not have any idea what's going on. So,
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm troubleshooting for people all the time.
I mean, listen, I can't even imagine having somebody go, and especially if you've not been in a while, and just see Disney. Go,
Yeah.
I need some help. I need somebody to call, to text. What's going on? So,
Yeah.
a place that's not technically the parks, but I saw that you were there as well. What do you like to do at Disney Springs?
I love the
anything.
World Disney Store. Yeah, yeah, I truly. So, I was at Disney Springs a couple times. I went to meet a local friend for dinner when we first got down there, and it was right at sunset, and so I was able to catch some live entertainment. Disney Springs is beautiful. The location is beautiful. Lots of really, really great. If you're not a big Disney fan and you find yourself there, like in Disney World, and you get a little break to go to Disney Springs, it does sort of make you feel like you've stepped out of the bubble, but it's still very clean, very, cast members everywhere are very kind, very nice, great places to eat, great entertainment, whether it's live entertainment or you're bowling or you're going to see Cirque du Soleil or, there's so many different things that you can do. I love going and grabbing like lunch or dinner. If you haven't been to Gideon's Bakehouse, their cookies are so good. That is a line I will stand in, Paul. That is a line I will stand in for a long time. And I have done it. I have stood for an hour and a half to get those cookies. And yeah, the World Disney Store, the Lego store. Yes.
Hang on. We're not going to blow past that. An hour and a half, huh?
Yes, hour and a half. I actually got so dehydrated. I was in the sun. I had to leave and go get a bottle of water and come back to the line because it was so long. But those cookies are really good. And it's really cool in there. I don't know if you've ever been in there. It's inside of it is like a cool little shop.
They have I don't know, ice or frozen coffee that I got last time there. That was just, I did not go this time. I went after my Magic Kingdom day and I was about done with the day and I did not need any more caffeine. I needed to go to the World of Disney, like you said. It's a must do. You have to see that. I like going to the art store and not buying anything, but just going, well, this is $15,000 painting. I just roll that up and put it in my carry on and take it home. Like what? I don't know who buys those paintings, but I'm sure someone does who's in the market for a crystal castle. One of the I don't know how to say it, Swarovski crystal castle.
Swarovski, yeah.
Like, who is this for? It's not for me. I'm sure someone's
buying it.
This is nice. It's a lot of fancy stores, and then like the newer stuff, like all the white buildings. It's very strange. It's all like upper tier shopping, and then 90s Disney that has a coat of paint slap. It's very strange. It's an odd place, but I love it. It's like I said, it's got a lot of that old tacky Disney that I like still. And you go in World of Disney, and that's almost a half day park. That store, it's madness in there. So there's a lot in there for sure. But for me, it is also a must do. Like you've got to see it at night. There's just a band playing, and there's 100 restaurants and cookies. And all right, so you like Gideon's, you like a spring roll. What else? What is your favorite? You got a favorite drink in any of the places?
So and that's hard. I really like, this is sad because I'm not someone that typically loves going to a bar, right? I didn't like grow up around any of that. But I went to Jelly Rolls.
Oh,
and that's closing, and that's very sad.
Is it moving or is it closing?
I believe it's moving.
Okay.
But it's leaving the boardwalk.
Okay.
But I went there and had a really great drink. It was watermelon something. And I cannot remember exactly what it was, but it was so good.
We're very different people.
That was
a watermelon drink and a strawberry soup. And I'm like, I don't know about any of this. This is
a lot of fruit. Listen, I like my stuff to be very sweet. Very, very, very sweet.
I like a lady drink. If I'm having a drink, my wife is going, what is this? She's having a beer. And I'm like, just whatever's got an umbrella or a tree poking out of it and is the brightest color thing.
My husband's always getting a whiskey. He loves like a whiskey or an old fashioned, and I'm definitely, if there's an umbrella in it, I'm happy.
Like, is that a fishbowl with something in it? Bring it over. It's silly. So I like the Oga's Cantina. I like that kind of thing because it's
Oga's is fun.
We've got the cups that we brought home But then, it's 11 o'clock and you're drinking and you go, this is weird, right? You walk outside and go, it's not even noon. And we've, had a cocktail. It's very strange, but we're not big drinkers, but it's nice there every now and then to have something like that. I would say I had this last time. So we were talking about the restaurants and the hotels. It has so many different things. There's so much to experience. You can't do it in one trip. And it's sad to me because I find something I love, like you like a spring roll. But the next time, you're like, should I get something else? Should I try something new? There's a whole world of things to try. And I got a thing. It's called A Mission to S'mores. And it's a play on Mission to Mars. It's over by it's in Tomorrowland at Magic Kingdom. And it is a frozen coffee with marshmallows and graham cracker crumbles. And it's a chocolate coffee. It was the most amazing thing I've ever had in my life. And
that sounds delicious.
I was like, it's on my list. But then, next time it's like, do I need to get this or do I need to go try something in Frontier? It's almost too much. But
yeah,
I do love that. So, all right. Kind of closing up at the end, just real quick then, what is your favorite park then of the four?
I love Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
It's forever going to be my favorite. I think part of that is because I loved it when it was MGM when I was a kid. I know, right? And so when it switched over and I went as an adult and I saw everything new and I had my kids with me, I was like, okay, I really like this too. And it's my kids' favorite park. It's my family's favorite park. I think some of our favorite memories have happened there. So it might be my favorite because it's a little nostalgic for me. Mm-hmm. But I love to see a show. I love Indiana Jones and Beauty and the Beast, and I love a good roller coaster, rock and roller coaster. I'm interested to see where they take that. But we're big Star Wars people. Galaxy's Edge, we could hang out in there forever. And Toy Story is just the sweetest little area. So I think, Sunset Boulevard, it's all just good. It's all the vibes there are so good. And so I think that's probably my favorite. If I have to pick one, that's going to be my favorite.
Well, honestly, that is what I normally would have said. Like, I don't know if you can see all my junk back here.
Yes.
Well, it goes on a little further. This is my childhood shelves of garbage, but I have this crazy Aladdin hat and things that, like, when MGM Studios was my jam back in the day, like, that was my favorite thing. I love the, oh gosh, I can't think of the name. The restaurant with the cars. Off the top of my head, it's killing me.
Sci-Fi Drive-In?
Yeah, Sci-Fi Drive-In. Yeah. That is my favorite. And the food is fine, but it's the vibes in there. It's amazing. And then, like you said, and at night, like the lights, like the glowing light, all of it is just so magical. I'm a little heartbroken about the Muppets. And by a little, I mean very heartbroken.
Yeah, it's a sweet little area. I'm reserving judgment on it until it's done. I'm ready. I think some things it's just, you're ready for a change. But that's going to be a big one. We'll have to see what happens.
I don't want to get into conflict with you, but the Muppets in general, I love the concept of, but I love that 3D area, that, a cute little area as you call it. Star Wars has 3 areas at Hollywood Studios. Can we get rid of this launch bay and stop with the nonsense over there? Could we have not? I'm looking forward to Monsters, Inc. I think it looks amazing. Yeah. And I think once it comes along, people are going to be very excited about it. But
I agree.
I'm like, they've got Star Tours, which is still amazing. Galaxy's Edge, that's my favorite ride. I think that Rise of the Resistance is an experience. I wouldn't even call it a ride. It's a whole thing, and it's really from start to finish amazing. So no notes, but that Star Wars launch bay, I'm like, guys, this is just an afterthought. Tossed
it's
in
a lot.
Corner.
Yeah, tossed in a corner. It's a big area, mostly just used for character interactions, which are fun. Those character interactions are stellar, but feels like we can put them somewhere else.
They can't even sign stuff, and they say, well, they don't have paper in space, and I'm like, they don't have paper in space. What kind of? Come on, get out of here with this silliness. That's what they told us in the autograph books. And I was like, all right, well, that's fine. That's one thought. But then you could just get rid of this and put in another ride and keep my blessed bucket.
Eventually, I think they'll revisit it. I think it's probably an area that's revisited often in chats with Disney.
All right, so then what is your favorite ride in the whole deal? Doesn't have to be in Hollywood, in the whole parks.
I really like Cosmic Rewind.
Oh yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah. I really like it if the song is right. If I'm
Oh
getting conga, then I'm happy. Um, yeah, that might be my all-time favorite.
yeah, it's pretty great. If
That's a good
you
one.
if you really want to know how good it is, you should do a park hopper day, go on Space Mountain, and then go on Cosmic Rewind and say,
Yeah.
"Oh, this is how they're making these now. This is nice because it is a
Yeah.
smooth sailing ship after the
Yep.
chiropractic adjustment you get at Space Mountain." So, and I'm sure back in the day, the first time someone went on Space Mountain, they said, "This is
Oh
remarkable.
yeah.
It's the most
It was
amazing thing
incredible.
I've ever been on." But now they say that about Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's just amazing to see what's gone on in 50 years, you know. But
Uh-huh.
Cosmic Rewind
Uh-huh.
is pretty cool, and the
Yeah, it is.
pre-show, excellent
Yes.
pre-show. It's funny
Yep.
and it's good classic Epcot jokes. You know, it's
Yep.
got a lot of good stuff in it. So, well, I just appreciate you being on here. This has been a delight,
Oh yeah.
a great way to start my
Yeah.
morning, and
Oh.
I will put all of your information in the description. And whenever I post stuff, you know, I'll make sure people can check out Bekah. And that's Magic Mom Travel that you're at now.
Yes.
And
Yes.
hopefully, you know, if you're looking for someone out here to help make your Disney vacation perfect and take the stress out of planning it, because believe me, like I said, we've done it both ways. And planning it, you're just never quite sure until you get there if you made the right decision. And there's so many decisions to make because from hotels to, you know, food and everything that you want to do, it's hard to get reservations. She'll do it for you.
Yep.
It's pretty great. So whether or
Yeah.
not you want to, I hope you have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. I know that
Oh.
it's such a terrible.
Oh, I love that sign off,
Oh,
Paul.
no,
That's
no.
fantastic.